Welcome back. Autumn is definitely here. The ground is getting softer. Contacts are becoming more and more important to make sure you get the outcomes you desire. And today I'm going to look at the attack angle of a part of the club that you might not have considered before and how to match that with the delivery that you have quite naturally. Let's take a look. Right, now that contact was pretty good. You could hear the ground hit, you could hear the ball hit. And the outcome, obviously desirable, kind of low, spinny, just all in all a good shot. There's been some preoccupation with attack angle, and it's been the attack angle of the club head. Now, the attack angle in and of itself can't be too steep, can't really be too shallow, but it has to match with where the club touches the ground, how far underground the club is heading, and more variables on top of that you probably don't need to think about. But today I'm going to show you one really important matchup between your attack angle and the attack angle of your grip that you need to get right in order to get the club to interact with the ground very, very well. Okay, now numbers wise, I have the data from Ping. I captured it last December and it was really insightful and somewhat shocking as to what one end of the club needs to do to control the other end effectively. So what we'll do is divide into three sections. We'll look at shallow attack angles, steep attack angles, and moderate. And I'm going to explain to you, we have two cameras running, so we're over here as well. I'm going to explain to you what needs to happen with a steep attack, what needs to happen with a shallow attack, and what needs to happen with something moderate, and how to control this end of the club effectively. All right, so let's start with steep. So let's say my club is going to come in at 6 inches short of the ball, it's coming down at 30 degrees. It's not constant, it doesn't go in a straight line, it does curve and lessen and soften to some degree by the time the club gets to the golf ball. Typically somebody with a steeper attack will have everything positioned further forwards, they'll have more lean late into the golf ball, and somehow some will still manage to not dig their club into the ground, okay, with a lot of lean and a lot of downwards. And the key is to have this end of the club, and I like to use the midpoint of the grip as reference, this end of the club moving upwards to some degree. Now I'll just hit one, I'm going to try and go in quite steep, going to move forwards quite a bit, and I'm going to try and lean it late and get the club off the ground. You'll see how soft the turf is here as well. There might be something there. If the ground was firm, it would be easier, but we'll just go ahead with it anyway. So I'm going to try and go forwards, lean it quite a lot, and manage the bottom of the swing by elevating this. Okay, pretty good. You see down the line, came out pretty flat, tons of spin, contact was good from face on. We'll run it slowly for you now. And you're going to see a decent amount of lean, and you're going to see this going upwards. Now, let's say when I'm trying to be steep, I can get my attack down to minus 10 to 12 as a window. Now, this end of the club, on the shots that were measured, with me having this traveling down at 12 degrees at that point of contact with the golf ball, the midpoint of the grip was going up 40. Up 40. So 45 is about here, 40 is going to be marginally less. All right, so from here, when I'm approaching the golf ball, by the time the club gets to the ball, this part of the club is going up at this kind of angle. It's pretty severe, right? It's not something you can get by body alone. Some twisting of the grip, some releasing will move things up, but you need to learn to extend through your hips, through your knees, and if you want to really get the club off the ground, a little bit of rehinging here, a little bit of softening of the elbows, all these things move this upwards. All right, but essentially I would say maybe the core of it or the bulk of it can come from the body. So I can be quite late, quite a long way forwards, knowing that this now needs to go, and somewhat conveniently, almost up the shaft angle, I can start to pull upwards and away and inwards to get that 40-degree trajectory on there. So the steeper I go, the more up the middle of the grip needs to go in order to not bury it. Okay, pretty low face contact, but not a mark on the ground. Hopefully, face on, you'll see it again. quite a bit of down, not throwing it, not coming in shallow. Let's go to the other end. Let's look at the shallow swings. Now, if my club is coming in close to the ground, let's say I've got an attack that's more 3, 4, 5 degrees, getting into middle territory there, coming in at 3 or 4, if this end of the club goes up too quickly, I'm not going to get good contact. So for a shallower attack angle, the trajectory of the grip needs to be much less, and it's in fact less than half. Just under 20 degrees on a 1 to 2 degree down. Some of the shots I got were kind of close to level, but definitely sub 20. So I guess in short, what I'm saying is if you're a shallower player, or you try and be shallower, you don't need nearly as much elevation of the midpoint of the grip. Okay, now rotating would still be a good idea, but you definitely don't need to start to pull up. You can start to make a wider, longer follow through. Okay, so matching the shallow approach with a shallow ascent of the grip should get the club on the ground quite nicely. Obviously this is flipping things completely opposite, so I'll go from pretty steep to pretty shallow. Make sure the line's going to keep sitting into holes and see what we can get. So I'm going to go much wider, and I'm not going to elevate nearly as much. I'm going to stay in my posture better and have a wider follow through. So the midpoint of the grip is still rising, but nowhere near as quickly. It's pretty safe to say that was shallow. Obviously it was up quite a bit more. I probably could have leaned that a little bit. That's another conversation we might come on to in a moment, is shaft lean and digging and how they're not really one and the same. I'll go with a bit more lean this time, square the face off, wide, some degree of ascent but not excessive. Don't need the quick elevation. Okay, that was a little better. So you can see both really nice contact, but they created quite different outcomes. One was quite low, quite spinny. The other one was launching more, probably 35 or so, with a decent amount of spin, a reasonable amount of stopping power. So they do create different things. Well, what's in the middle? Well, it's going to be something in between, obviously. And the way I'd look at this is really the follow through and the width of it. So I went quite wide and relatively low for the wide, or the shallower, wider swing. When it was steeper, moving forwards, there's definitely more of an effort to be up. And you've seen this elevate faster, probably not be as stretched as far. I was definitely taller, the shaft was higher off the ground. Need something moderate here, so it's not going to be all stretched out and low, nor is it going to be aggressively up. So this will be more towards my stock, which is more in the 5 to 10 down window. Just overhit slightly, but not bad. Came out just a little bit flatter than the wide. Had a little bit more stopping power in it, admittedly. I flew it too far. So we'll go again. That was better. So I'm fully aware internally that I am elevating to some degree. I'm not having to do it nearly as sharp or as quickly as with the steep, and I'm not staying as far down or as low and making things as wide as with the shallow. Because your ability to control this end of the grip is massive to get the club to interact with the ground correctly. Now I did mention shaft lean, and this is kind of one of those things that people associate with digging. You know, again, if you can control the ascent or the upward of the middle of the grip, you can have tons of lean on it and not dig. So I'll go excessive. I kind of like to do this as a demo. This is quite hard when the ground is this soft, but let's see what we can get. So plenty of lean from front camera. And I'm going to make sure that the midpoint of the grip is moving up plenty by the time I get to the golf ball. Plenty of lean on it, not a mark on the ground. Okay, so in and of itself, shaft lean does not create dig. Shaft lean with a steep attack that doesn't change quickly enough at the bottom, the ascent of this not being quick enough, that will create dig. Okay, now all that considered, we kind of get to the point of bounce and saying, well, what does bounce really do? Bounce is a safety net. Okay, now it will make your bad shots better to some degree. It won't make your worse shots better. It certainly won't prevent you digging the club into the ground. The thing that prevents the club digging into the ground is your control of this. Your control of this needs to match up with your style, whether it's shallow, steep, moderate, and understanding what you need to do with your body to get this to go up. Now, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to keep rolling out this kind of content if you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.